Pick the skill that you think employers are most looking for in college graduates. Okay, now pick the skill that you think employers say is most lacking in recent college graduates. If you said communication, you're right on both accounts. So that's the primary function of this course, to make you a more competent communicator in various contexts of your social and your professional life. Before you can ever become better at anything in life, you first really have to understand it. So let's break down the process of communication by looking at some communication perspectives. Specifically, we're going to look at the nature of communication, the actual process of communication, and talk about some communication characteristics. At its core, communication is really about messages. Messages that we send, that we receive, and these messages can be either verbal or nonverbal messages. Besides a message, what else is absolutely essential for communication to take place? We need someone to send or speak the message, and we need someone to receive or listen to the message. Sometimes these messages are totally spontaneous, but sometimes they're planned. And a lot of times we have these behavioral scripts. For example, when I say, "Hi, how are you?" and you say back, "Fine, thanks." That back and forth is an example of a behavioral script, something we do and say often. The speaker is putting their message in some sort of code. And by code, I mean language or nonverbal cues. And then the listener has to decipher that code. This is sometimes where we'll run into a communication breakdown when the speaker encodes, but unfortunately the listener decodes in a way that the speaker never intended. So this message is traveling down a route, which is known as a channel. We have all kinds of channels: face-to-face communication, electronic communication. So it's the means of transportation that the message is traveling. So back to our communication process. We've got our speaker, our listener. They're sending a message through some sort of channel. Now this has all been really one way. Now to make it a two-way process, you need feedback. And feedback can either be verbal or nonverbal. Ooh, and another part of this process is when something just gets in the way of the message actually getting through to the other person. And that's what's known as interference, also sometimes referred to as noise. Noise is sometimes physical, a really loud lawnmower outside or the hum of a projector, or it can be psychological. Man, I'm really hungry, so I can't really concentrate on what the speaker is saying right now. And sometimes semantic, having to do with an accent or just not being able to understand the other person. And the last element of the communication process is what's known as context. And context can be broken into physical, social, historical, psychological, and cultural context. Let's take a look at these. Physical context deals entirely with location. For example, your message is going to be received differently depending on where it is that you're delivering it: the beach, a classroom, a park, a rally. Social context means a relationship already exists between these two people exploring this message together. Have you ever had a conversation with someone and then picked up that conversation from the same place the next day? That's an example of historical context. Sometimes people's moods get in the way of how they're interpreting a message or sending a message. For example, I could just be having a really bad day, and that makes it easier for me to snap at you. But I really didn't intend to snap at you. I'm just in a bad mood. That's psychological context. And cultural context? Well, hey, we have a lot of similarities, but we also have some differences depending on where we were raised and what our rituals and beliefs and values are, depending on where we grew up. So sometimes there are going to be misunderstandings that are purely cultural. Let's talk about the different types of communication that we're going to study throughout this course. Intrapersonal communication. Well, these are the voices in our mind, that self-talk that we take part in every day. Scientists put our self-thought at about 12,000 to 50,000 times a day. Interpersonal communication is communication between two people. Small group communication involves 3 to 20 people. Public communication is delivery to audiences of more than 20 people, for example, public speeches and presentations. And lastly, our mass communication is communication finding its way to really big audiences, for example, newspapers, magazine articles, radio, and TV programs.